This is going to be two segments from Face the Nation. Both of the segments have to do with focus groups that a person hired by Face the Nation did. The first group is going to be a focus group reviewing Donald Trump and their full-throated support of him, and how their support actually doesn't seem to be based in reality. So I'm going to play the clip now so that you can see just how ridiculous some of the people that support Trump are, and how they really don't care what he says. They're basically just attracted to the personality.
We turn now to campaign 2016 and the Trump phenomenon. Last week, Republican consultant and CBS News contributor Frank Luntz gathered 29 past and present Donald Trump supporters in Virginia to get their thoughts on the Republican frontrunner, including his controversial comments on Muslims.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Raise your hands if you agree with him. 14, 16, 17.
They don't want to become Americans. They want to come here and blow up America and kill us.
All Muslims? Trump
we have no way of knowing.
All Muslims.
No.
Temporarily, we have no way of knowing who they are. Yes, we need a temporary hold. That's a very reasonable position.
We're legitimately afraid. And the president is not making us feel safer.
And he wants to yell at us about like gun control.
I think we're all scared. I'm actually a little jumpy, I find, and Trump is the only one who would come out and say something like this. No one else would do
And
it.
so you credit him with that.
I do. I mean, no one else would say it. Who would say it?
So you don't see, even in this room, this explosion of points of view that maybe he went too far in what he said?
You know what Trump does? He says something completely crazy and inflammatory, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he dials back and sort of starts explaining it and saying how he would do.
the conversation.
And it makes sort of sense.
Trump is smart like a fox. He's in campaign mode. He has to be proactive. He's intentionally playing the media. He's saying things that are right on the edge. He's exaggerating. He's saying things that he knows the mainstream media will grab and throw a gasoline on, and it goes really big.
We're not believing everything he's saying. Right. Nobody's. No, we're taking it for exactly what he just explained. He goes out and he makes a huge fuss to get everyone's attention, to get his issues addressed. We want someone to take a stance. We want someone to say, yes, okay, here's what we're going to do.
Is it his persona, his tenacity, his raising of issues you care about?
His personality is just so large. I mean, he's out there, he's getting everyone to talk about stuff, just like Lady Baker said.
He is entertaining. He's giving everyone something to talk about.
He looks presidential and he acts presidential.
You think he acts presidential. So when he said, and I quote, I would bomb the out of ISIS.
And this is when
He used the word That's presidential?
Yes!
Americans think the country's in crisis. Trump is telling them the country's in crisis, and people flock to a strong leader when they think the country's in crisis.
Smart guy.
People, you. Don't talk about people. You flock to Trump.
Yeah, I'm attracted to his persona.
Because?
Because of what's happening in the world. International affairs. He stands up there, he gives the image, he's not going to put up with any crap.
You're an African American. Why do you support Trump?
Because he's saying stuff that needs to be said. When it comes to the general election, I think a significant number of African Americans will support Trump because the entertainment fact that he has, that he, persona.
Wrong.
if Trump gets elected, he will have people that will coach him to ensure that these type of things aren't said out loud.
We've seen a lot of bad things that Trump has done. We've seen a lot of bad things that he's said. However, we've got a lot more problems in this country that I feel that he is more qualified to handle.
Socially, we are tired of political correctness. I think we're being burdened with it. I think it's making us weaker as a country globally. And I think that he represents that voice of that frustration, that political correct frustration.
Yeah, he makes mistakes. He's human. He says some things that are off color that I'm embarrassed by occasionally. But I still think he's a leader, and those prove that he's a leader.
I just think we need a complete shakeup. And I think he's the only one that can do it.
Here's a $64,000 question. With Marco Rubio as the Republican nominee and Trump running as an independent, who here votes for Trump? Raise your hands. Right now, the establishment Republicans just died.
Yeah, they should. They haven't been listening to us.
It's time for a real change.
It's just not going to
It's
come.
a real change.
That's more than half of you. Just raise your hands that you're going to leave the Republican Party.
No, we're voting for a person. I'm voting for a man or woman that wants to change his country.
I admit I'm stunned.
He said it,
That's
yeah.
right.
He
They
said it.
left us.
They left us. If they're not listening, I'm voting for the person, not, I'm wanting, and he's still out of all of them. Rubio has the energy, but I think he has the energy and the actual means to happen.
We could take the people with, I think that there's enough of us out there who would go out who've never knocked on doors before, ever.
Yeah.
And that would actually bring my Republican brother, hey, come on, let me talk to you. I've never done that.
The Republican Party has failed us the last 2 times with weak candidates. First with McCain, who was weak, then with Romney, who was weak. We're tired of weak candidates. There is no number 2 to Trump. Who's number 2 in the Republican field to Trump that can really win the election? Who?
Trump is an independent. You're voting for Trump.
Yes, yes.
Trump is an independent.
Yeah, I'd vote for him over Rubio because maybe the party does need to be fractured. Maybe it's time to blow it up.
Then Hillary will be the president.
Blow it up.
And Frank Luntz joins us now from Las Vegas, where Republicans will be debating on Tuesday. So, Frank, sum that whole experience up for us. What's the big headline for you?
Well, the big headline for me is that political correctness is alive and well, and it is found in the Trump candidacy. 3 things. Number 1 is that these Trump voters are much more optimistic than any other Republicans because they believe that Donald Trump can actually turn back Barack Obama. Number 2 is that these voters were more salty in their language than any focus group I have ever moderated. They have taken the tone and the demeanor of their candidate, and they're proud of it. And number 3 is that if Donald Trump should decide to run as an independent, the Republican Party will be in deep, deep trouble. And by the way, I blame the leadership of the GOP because Donald Trump does his worst in the presidential debates. If there were more debates or other candidates were standing side by side with Donald Trump, he would not be in the position that he is today.
What struck me is that there have been a series of times in this cycle so far where political strategists and people in the press have looked at Donald Trump and said, well, this will be the time that he falls. What your focus group suggested was that no matter how many times you offered the audience an opportunity to leave Donald Trump, to dislike him, to find some other candidate they might like, they seemed to rally around him even more strongly.
You're right. They've discounted all the attacks. The flip-flops, well, he has the right to change his opinion. Attacking other Republicans, he's just being entertaining. Even his attacks on women or the comments he's made about women, they don't like it, but they find a way to justify it. The only thing that could hold Trump up is if it were to come out that there were employees that were mistreated or small businesses that were mistreated by Trump's companies. That would cause him a problem. All this other political stuff that you hear from the media and from his opponents, none of it sticks to him.
That just goes to prove that Donald Trump is attracting people that are not living in the real world. They don't care. They just want somebody who seems to project strength, even though there isn't any. Now I'm going to shift over to the next focus group. But it's going to take me about a second to do so.
Last week, we brought you some thoughts from voters who supported Donald Trump. This week, CBS News contributor and Republican strategist Frank Luntz talked to Muslims about their thoughts about what's going on in America following the San Bernardino terror attack and Donald Trump's call to ban Muslims from entering the United States.
And every time that there's some kind of an attack in this country, every time that there's any kind of a crime, I'm literally praying, and I'm sure that everyone else is literally praying that it's not a Muslim.
And that's exactly what most black people do. Anytime there's something that's horrendous, we literally are praying that it's not a black person that's out there. So, you know, we basically are in the same boat as the Muslims, except that because of the terrorist situation, the Muslims are up front at this point.
Before any facts start running through, we're literally
praying that it's not Muslim, and when it is, I know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, we've seen this for decades. This isn't anything new, as many of my peers have said.
No, it's exactly that.
I actually did a call out to Muslim parents across the country to not watch the Republican debate in front of their children, because I knew that subjecting our children to hear the hateful stereotyping and the lumping of Muslims with terrorism in front of our children is actually something that psychologically impacts them. So that's how deep this is for us.
But don't you want the kids to know the challenges that they face?
I don't want my children to be subjected to racism and the vilification of their faith. I will explain to my kids in my own way, in the way that I can speak to them, and I will not allow Donald Trump to tell my kids how they should feel about being Muslim.
I want a word or phrase to describe Donald Trump.
Exploitative.
Worse than Voldemort.
Psychopath.
Bigoted. A blessing in disguise for us.
I want to go at your response. Why?
That's why we're here, Frank. I would not be sitting here right now if this wasn't happening. A lot of our voices would not be out here because of him. We are now in the public spotlight. Let's use this to talk about who we really are, all right? Let's use this to be like, hey, America, we're Americans. Don't fear us, okay? Fear your crazy politicians who are trying to buy your votes. And I think this gives us a great chance, you know?
What % of the Muslim community do you think could potentially be a physical threat to the country?
In America, maybe less than 1%.
So you all agree?
Right, I know, but if Trump keeps doing what he's doing, and if he's elected president, that number, whatever it may be, will skyrocket.
So you're saying that Trump could actually...
Yes?
No.
Guys, let me explain. He's being irresponsible. The American people need to understand that. The national security agencies have said that his comments might be used as a poster for ISIS. He's driving and fueling anger amongst Americans and abroad.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Okay, and now which group do you think was basically more realistic? Even though I tend to agree with the guy that said that the number of people that become radicalized will rise. And the reason I believe that is because there will be so many people under attack, you know, just for being Muslim, and they will just naturally want to fight back, and the only way they would be able to fight back, not necessarily in the overall Islamic group, but within a subgroup such as ISIS, would be to become radicalized and to do whatever. So, you know, the second group of people are basically living in a real world of reality where they are under attack, whether you want to believe it or not, by Donald Trump. And the first group is living in a world of fantasy where they just don't have the courage to say what they want to say, i.e. being politically correct. But here is someone who's not politically correct that's actually voicing what they believe in their minds and their hearts. So anyway, just two different focus groups that I picked up on Face the Nation and I felt should be further publicized so that people can actually see what potentially is going on.